get took down like that, bro. Like, and I'm tired of seeing us black people go against us black moguls like that. And I feel like if Diddy was a white man who done all this for people, I know he ain't paid people, but if he done all this for hip hop.
Alright, what's up with the YouTube fam? I'm back again with another video right now. Listen, this is an update on the whole P. Diddy case and everything that's going on with it right now. He was found not guilty, well, within the last hour or so. He was found not guilty on 3 out of the 5 charges that he was presented, right? Now, if y'all already know about the feds, and if you don't know about the feds, they throw a lot of different things at y'all, just hoping that certain things will stick. They know everything won't stick, but they know majority will. And ultimately, he was found not guilty on racketeering, which is the RICO. He got found not guilty on trafficking of Cassie. He also was found guilty of transportation to engage in prostitution related to Cassie. He was found guilty on that. He was also found not guilty on trafficking of Jane. And the 5th charge, he was found guilty of transportation to engage in prostitution related to Jane. Right, so basically the main charges are thrown out, but he still has 2 other charges to fight. Now those 2 other charges hold like a maximum sentence of 10 years apiece. But me personally, I think that he'll get some type of slap on the wrist. It won't be nothing really major, just for the simple fact of he has great resources, great lawyers, and a lot of different things that's working for him. Now they are saying that they are looking to try to get him out on a $1 million bond because he still has to deal with sentencing, which will take place a little bit later from now. And with him being basically off of the RICO, he has more leniency to get out of the jails. So I just honestly feel like that, it is what it is in this case. A lot of people aren't surprised. I know I'm not one of the people who are surprised. I already felt like he was going to get some type of leeway in this case, and it is what it is. Now Boosie did respond to this whole situation. I just downloaded it. I didn't hear half of what he said. I said, let me go ahead and just throw this into a video so we can watch it real quick. But I also have people that surrounded the case, that has been following the case from beginning to the end, speaking about this whole situation as well. So we're finna get into all of that. I want to tell everybody out there, I appreciate y'all for being here. I hope that everything is okay with you and your family, and I'm wishing y'all nothing but the best in every aspect of y'all's life. When I say that, I'm only talking to those who say it back to me in return, and to those who reciprocate the same energy back to me as well, and just not typing it out for whatever the reason may be. The ticket sale still is available right now. I'm gonna have a ticket sale going on until next week, and I think I might extend it a little bit longer than that because my birthday next week. I don't know yet, but anyway, go, y'all better jump in where y'all can if y'all want to take a chance at winning this 2025 GMC terrain that I'm giving away August the 2nd or August the 3rd, one of the 2. I will be giving it away to y'all. But anyway, go, enough all of that. Let's see what Boosie got to say about the situation and hear what some of the people got to say about this whole thing with Diddy and stuff like that. Let's go.
Man, I'm so glad Diddy free, bro. The reason is
he ain't free yet.
Because I'm tired of seeing those black moguls get took down like that, bro. And I'm tired of seeing those black people go against those black moguls like that. And I feel like if Diddy was a white man who done all this shit for people, I know he ain't paid people, but if he done all this shit for hip hop, if he was white, there had so many white people out there protesting for this man losing his life behind a relationship, And people always, Boosie was on Diddy's side. Nah, it ain't that. It's because I'm thinking about 7 children. Y'all thinking about one person. I'm thinking about these 7 kids who been in my kid's position. Not knowing if they're really gonna come home or not is a burden on the child. So all y'all was like, no, I'm thinking about them damn children, man. So man, I'm glad he's free, bro. Like I've been said, I don't feel he was guilty of nothing, nothing but domestic violence.
Yeah. He was guilty of that.
But the court spoke, man, and man, I'm happy that dude children, man. I know his feeling right now, man. I'm just happy for them children, man. So, Diddy sit your ass down somewhere. That's what you need to do. Grab Stevie J in your chair and get the fuck on.
Grab Stevie J for what, Boosie? Oh, man. He couldn't do that right there. But listen, I can understand where he's coming from. You know what I'm saying a lot of the stuff that he did say. I do feel like that he was guilty of domestic violence, not only because we seen the videos, but he admitted to it as well. And I mean, shit, we know hell, our eyes ain't lying to us. But ultimately, I want to say, you know, when it comes to anything else, I feel like that they were being extra freaky. You know what I'm saying? Kinky, throwing cat across the room, throwing ass in the circles, and all of these stories from everybody else that's associated with the case. I don't know them to be true, but they were saying some crazy, weird things, and it just really had me in awe at all times, you know what I'm saying? Especially with somebody going to rub some juice on some nipples and stuff. I don't know how true this shit is or whatever the case may be, but just hearing those allegations is crazy, you know what I'm saying? But it is what it is. Now let's fast forward into what just took place as far as like with the not sentencing, but with them talking about him trying to get a bond, and they're saying that the bond could be $1 million. They will figure out everything towards 1 p.m. and after. But I just feel like that, you know, if they do give him a bond, he'll be out today, and he ain't going no damn where, because I'm pretty sure he feel like he already got it beat. With him being a first time offender to this magnitude anyway, he ain't finna get too much time. But you never know. It is a high profile case, and the feds don't like taking losses and things like this, so we'll never know until we get to that point in time. But I do want to say, you know, for him to beat those charges the way that he did, and with it being the feds, he got some pull, and he got some great, you know, legal representation around him as well. But let's get into this other stuff. Let's go.
Thus far, since the jury started deliberating, remember yesterday, they reached a verdict, unanimous verdicts on 4 of 5 counts facing Sean Diddy Combs, but they were deadlocked to that point, or at least in a place where they said they were unpersuadable on count 1, the racketeering conspiracy charge facing Sean Diddy Combs. We just got an update. It is a verdict. That is per CNN and Inner City Press, which has been covering this case. We do have a verdict in the trial of Sean Diddy Combs. I want to bring in Sierra Gillespie, who is the host of Scandal here on Law and Crime. So just about an hour into deliberations today, Sierra, after they went home last night, they were not able to reach an agreement on count 1. Now we have a verdict coming in. What is your reaction, as I'm being told that Combs and other lawyers have returned to the courtroom, and so we're going to continue to follow this. Just your reaction thus far, pretty quick this morning.
The verdict is in. It is official. I mean, yesterday we were talking about how 4 of the 5 counts had been decided upon. The verdict was in, but still a question mark for this morning. What could come of that final one, count 1, racketeering conspiracy? And only about an hour into deliberations this morning, the jury returns a verdict. And let me tell you, there was a lot going on. Up and down the road that I'm on right here, it's filled with media. And we're all sitting down waiting, you know, what's going to happen, updating our phones. Is there any sort of, you know, news coming? And all of a sudden I hear next to me, ABC, we've got a verdict. Everyone else, here's the verdict. And by the way, I think we have a court update, so I'm going to go back to Chris. Tell us what we know.
Yes, court update coming in. Again, we have a verdict in the trial of Sean Diddy Combs. Sean Diddy Combs' lawyers are still meeting with him in private as we wait for the verdict to be read in court. We know that Combs' mom and his sister are in the courtroom. We saw members of his family, his children were there. They actually prayed with Sean Diddy Combs inside of the courtroom this morning before members of his family left, which was probably about 15, 20 minutes ago. And then Sean Combs went to a separate room where he was going to wait out these deliberations. I want to bring in our panel of experts who are with me this morning starting at 9 o'clock. Candace Kelly, legal analyst, and then we have William Corman, who's a criminal defense attorney. Both are joining us. So very quick, since I last spoke to you, that verdicts come in. Just Candace, what's your reaction? I mean, we were thinking potentially that this was going to be a hung jury. We're still working on getting those guests. But again, we were talking this morning because of yesterday, the jury used the term unpersuadable when saying that that's where they were at on this racketeering conspiracy charge that Sean Combs was facing, even though they were able to find unanimous verdicts on 4 counts facing Diddy. But here we are, just an hour in, going home, sleeping on it. The 12 members of the jury returning a verdict. We're going to work on getting our guests up. But Sierra, walk us through, as you've covered this every day, of what makes this racketeering charge so complicated and why it seemed the jury, at least early on in these deliberations, they were having an issue coming to a verdict on this charge leading up to about 5 minutes ago.
Well, Well, I'm really not surprised that it was count one that was the hung jury or the confusion, right? Because it is the most complicated of all of them, racketeering conspiracy. And this is something we've talked at length about with the predicate crimes. Things like arson, bribery, forced labor, kidnapping, and it's got to be confusing. I mean, for me, who doesn't have a law degree, I've been covering this case for quite some time now. Even at times I waver, and I'm like, wait, what is this about? Let's, make sure to go back and really think about it.
And look, this is right before they handed out the not guilty and guilty verdicts. This is like the literal live that led up into them saying what they had to say about it, and they talk about the $1 million bond and different things like that. So I don't want y'all to be confused, like, what the hell, this ain't even the damn verdict. Yes, it is. It's just live. So let's get back into it.
And I think for jurors, that's what it's got to be, right? It's now become their job to figure this out. However, they weren't watching P.Diddy before all of this. They might have seen his name in the news, but they weren't really zoning in on racketeering conspiracy. And I think the biggest issue in all of this is likely that it's a conspiracy, right? Multiple people had to take part in this conspiracy, and yet there was only one person charged, one defendant, P.Diddy. And to me, that could be the question mark in all of this. And I do want to say, before we throw back to our guests really quickly, we were not expecting this verdict. P.Diddy's family walked out of the courtroom. I watched them go. Everyone thought, okay, that's the way it's going to be. And all of a sudden, they're coming right back in. We're getting the rush. And again, it just wasn't expected after 1 hour of deliberation this morning.
Yeah. Court update again. Sean Combs has entered the courtroom. He looked at his family. Again, his mom and his sister are there right now. He looked at his family, nodded his head, and flashed a small smile. Let's bring in our experts right now. Candace Kelly, legal analyst. William Corbin, good to see you again.
Now, that's one thing that I've been having an issue with, though. I ain't gonna lie. That he was the only one that was basically charged. You know what I'm saying? When it was a collective of people that were doing certain things with him, they were helping orchestrate certain things allegedly and all the other type of shit. If you're gonna charge one, charge them all. And I feel like he was isolated and targeted, but at the same time, if you're the main orchestrator, like they're saying that you are the payer and all the other type of shit, then I can understand why they're charging you, but also I feel like they should be charging other people as well. That's just my personal thoughts and opinions on that. But let's get back into it.
What is your reaction, Candace? I'll start with you. William Corbin, criminal defense attorney, by the way. But Candace, I'll start with you. Your reaction to the jury reaching this verdict?
Well, listen, I'm not surprised. I know that we talked about lunch just a few minutes ago. I'm a little quiet now because I'm in a TV studio. You'll probably see people running behind me, by the way. But I'm not surprised because, listen, we know that there was a point where they were coming to a conclusion in all this, and we thought that it was going to be today. I think what happened is that when they slept on it, maybe a lot of them made their decisions and came to a conclusion when they got to court, because that was very quick. It's 10:13 right now. Not a lot of discussions, probably just a lot of voting on each of the charges and then moving on.
It'll be fascinating to hear just how many people yesterday were on one side compared to the others, on this charge, the 12 jurors. William, what's your reaction that they were able to, in about an hour today, find a verdict?
This is why I never bet on how long it's going to take to reach a verdict.
Right.
Because I think both Candace and I were looking at noon or a little bit after noon,
Yes.
and that was about 6 minutes ago. So we're both way off. I agree with Candace. I think that giving them the night off, giving them the pause, allowed whoever it was that needed to do some internal soul searching, whoever it was that needed to marshal their arguments to convince whatever holdouts there were, they did their job. And so now here we are. Again, as I mentioned a little while ago, sitting around waiting for a verdict is very taxing. Thing worse than sitting around waiting for a verdict is when you know there is a verdict and you're sitting around waiting for the verdict to be read. This is about as high drama and about as tense as it gets. I've been in this position many times. It is an uncomfortable feeling because you're trying to read tea leaves that simply don't exist. They are sitting in that courtroom right now, just staring at the walls, waiting for the jurors to come in, waiting for everyone to reassemble. And it's tense and it's tough and it's taxing.
And let's get to this update. The judge says we received a note at 9:52 a.m. and it reads, "We have reached a verdict on all counts. Anything to address before we bring out the jury?" Both sides say no. The judge says maintain order while the verdict is being read and until we have the jury out. Candace, walk us through We don't have cameras in the courtroom, but what is going to happen next?
Well, listen, this gives time for the family to reconvene. As we know, the family left. They perhaps thought, like us, that they had a little more time. It gives everybody a time to kind of shore up, be ready, be there as you would want somebody who's a defendant who may not be walking out of the jail. So, with that in mind, everybody gets assembled. And then the foreperson is going to read the verdict once everybody is marshaled in. And as you mentioned, the judge is going to have to do a very good job to say, everybody, please be calm. Make sure that your reactions are in accordance with the rules and guidelines of the courtroom. As we know, though, Chris, that is very difficult to maintain. I am sure that regardless of what the verdict is, there is going to be a reaction because any combination of an outcome, guilty, not guilty, it's going to be a surprise because we just don't know and we just are not the jurors in there making the decision.
Yeah, and what a decision that they've made. I'm getting another update here. The judge says, I will ask our deputy to bring back our jury. Sean Combs has remained seated. His 8 lawyers are standing up. The judge says, all rise. So here we go. The jury's going to be coming in. So I do apologize if I'm looking off screen as I typically do. I have a monitor here. So I'm kind of watching this like a hawk to make sure that I bring you the update as quickly as possible. And as I wait for the update, William, let's talk about count 1, racketeering conspiracy. And just for those who are joining us, this is a complicated charge. What does the jury, as the jury, I'm just told the jurors are now entering, what is the jury going through? How do they reach a guilty or not guilty verdict? What do they consider when looking at count 1, racketeering conspiracy?
They have to find that Sean Combs was guilty beyond a reasonable doubt of the predicate offenses, at least 2 of the predicate offenses, such as arson, drug trafficking, sex trafficking, and so on. Then they also have to find beyond a reasonable doubt that he was part of an enterprise, and the enterprise was created for the purpose of committing criminal acts, that the enterprise itself was created for the purpose of continued criminal conduct. We know from the notes yesterday that this is what the jury was hung up on, and we know that after 52 minutes or so of deliberating today, whatever they were hung up on now has been resolved.
And we have received your note, says the judge. Juror number 5, have you reached a verdict? He is the foreman. Juror number 5 says we have. The judge says, is it unanimous? Juror number 5 says it is. The judge says, please provide the verdict for the deputy. And I'm waiting for another update to come in. But Candace, and I may cut you off here, take us inside what's probably the courtroom right now. And we do have, before that verdict comes in, we do have a poll up if you want to weigh in, everybody watching, on what you think the verdict may be. But take us inside, paint a picture of what it is like to be in that room right now.
Listen, everyone's quiet as a mouse. They are waiting for the details. This is the moment that this 7 weeks has been built upon, not just for the jurors, but for the public, for the reporters, for his family, for Sean Combs. This is the time. So it is quiet. Everybody's being patient. All rules are being followed. No one is acting up. No one is doing anything. Everybody is waiting with bated breath. This is the moment.
Yeah, it's a moment as I'm seeing one of my producers writing here. So I apologize, just waiting here to see if we do have the update on what that count is. They're reading this charge. I think of this morning when Sean Combs, we were talking with Elizabeth Milner, who's in the courtroom right now, that Sean Combs was praying with his family. And here is the verdict. The judge says the deputy will inquire as to the verdict. The deputy says, in the matter of the U.S. versus Sean Combs, count 1, juror number 5, not guilty. Deputy, sex trafficking of Cassandra Ventura, juror number 5, not guilty. Deputy, transportation for prostitution, juror number 5, guilty. So we have 2 not guilties on count 1, racketeering conspiracy, sex trafficking of Cassandra Ventura, that is not guilty, and transportation for prostitution, guilty. What is your reaction, William, to what the jury has found in the case against Sean Combs?
So far, I'm very surprised. I thought that the prosecution really did put forward a fantastic case involving Cassie Ventura. I'm surprised that they weren't able to prove beyond a reasonable doubt. I think that the defense counsel certainly did a great job in sort of showing the back and forth, the digital footprints that we talked about earlier, showing that, perhaps she was a willing participant in all this. Perhaps, she did know what was going on and that she was okay with it. That's my take on it.
The final 2 counts for sex trafficking of the victim who went by the pseudonym Jane. Juror number 5 says not guilty, and transportation for prostitution of Jane, juror number 5 finds guilty. The jury finds it guilty, according to the foreman, juror number 5. Candace, what is your reaction?
So listen, we're not surprised. We knew that lower act, we knew that the transportation crossing straight lines in order to engage in prostitution, we knew that was practically a given, that the defense was willing actually to give up, as we talked about before, that's up to 10 years. So that could really be across the spectrum. What we know it's not is RICO. We know it's not 20 years to life. And I think that that's something that defense definitely would say is a win. We are not surprised. I think that none of us are.
William, what does this mean for Sean Combs now? These are the two, the 2 weakest charges in terms of penalties, I guess you would say, in terms of seriousness of charges. Not guilty on racketeering, not guilty on sex trafficking of Cassandra Ventura, not guilty of sex trafficking of Jane. What does this verdict mean, getting those 2 guilty verdicts on the transportation for prostitution charges?
Well, obviously, there's still serious charges. I mean, it's the full weight of the federal government has come down against Mr. Combs and has charged him with these crimes. Obviously, he is relieved to have not been found guilty of the more serious crimes, if you will, but these were serious nonetheless, and there is a possibility that he's going to be sentenced to federal prison as a result. Both these counts carry with him up to 10 years in federal prison. He does have, I want to say, 10 or 12 months in already. He would get credit for that. I do think that there's a reasonable likelihood that he'll still be sentenced to some period of state prison, federal prison. But again, it's still very, very serious.
Does this mean that Sean Combs potentially could walk out of the courthouse today and then sentencing be pushed to a later date, Candace?
He's not walking out today. He's got a lot to do in terms of actually going back to the courthouse, and what they want to make sure doesn't happen is that he doesn't, he's not out in order to do what they thought he might do, which was tamper with witnesses, if they choose to charge this any further. He's not going anywhere. He's going to be held, and then he's going to be sentenced, and then he's going to be placed somewhere. As you said, it could be Florida, it could be in the Midwest, it could be Pennsylvania with Bob Menendez. We never know. But he is not going anywhere today.
And then, William, walk us through the sentencing part of this. We know what the verdict is now. What happens next?
So what happens next is that there is a sentencing hearing that will take place probably 30 to 60 days from now. In the meantime, both sides will marshal their arguments. They will put forth sentencing memorandum. The defense counsel puts together a memorandum. The prosecution puts together a memorandum. And also the probation department, the pretrial services, they also put together a memo. They will interview Mr. Combs. They will, each of those 3 branches, if you will come up what they believe an appropriate sentence is. And then ultimately it's up to the judge to formulate whatever sentence he sees fit in this particular case.
And we'll get some reaction. I'm still waiting to get the description of what the courtroom was like in this moment with Sean Combs being found guilty on the most